Right. Well, good morning, and I'm calling to order the Connecticut State Advisory Council for Special Education. This is our executive committee meeting on March 11th at 9:35 a.m. My name is Missy Wrigley, and I'm the chair as well as a parent member. Do we have any public comment today?
We have no public comment, Missy.
Okay. All right, then let's move on to consent agenda. We need approval for our February 11th minutes. Do we have any corrections that need to be made? Hearing none, can I have a motion to accept as written? Nachi, second,
I'll second it.
and Jen. All those approve?
I'm abstaining because I was not present at that meeting.
Okay, that was my next comment, so very good. All right, so let's move on to old business. We have our legislative, well, I don't know that we call it breakfast now, but our legislative event. We had talked about, since the breakfast was a no-go due to weather, we had talked about doing a table at the Capitol itself. I don't know where we are with actually coordinating a date for that or time. Have we been able to secure that at all?
So I'm glad that Brian is on, because we did email Brian to let him know that about the change that we were looking to do. And Cirque just needs the approval that we could change from the breakfast now moving forward to the LOB table in the lobby. And we were targeting, I believe, the big target date was April 22nd, right after our in-person meeting I think that's at Goodwin for the 22nd. And so we would work with Cass on that. If we can't, for some reason, I don't want to speak, but I think that setting up the table isn't as much logistical coordination as the breakfast, because I think there's probably more availability in the lobby. It just probably happens what they have occurring that day. So we're targeting either the 22nd, and I know some other dates that week were thrown out too. But that was kind of what we were looking to do. So, and Brian, if you're okay with that, just let us know. I might have to get it quickly in an email writing, but I could resend that out to you if you need to.
Christine, is there a cost to the table? Is that what
We don't, and that's what we don't believe there is, but we'll touch
Okay.
base with Cass on that. We don't believe there is. And I know there were some suggestions of food at the table, but that again would take some coordination with you if that was the case.
Yeah, I mean, the executive committee can discuss it, but that's fine, absolutely fine with me.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll resend you
I don't-
quickly
I don't
email.
know about the food. Like, I mean, that we could probably skip the food if it's the table in that kind of context, or
Okay,
maybe we could bring in some famous cupcakes or cookies.
there we go. We'll do a
Or
donation.
brownies or something like that?
Yes. Missy, definitely brownies.
That was, I mean, I guess that's where I thought we were going to go with it because I mean, I don't know. I thought we would just do that. So it was, have a bowl of candy. I think of when I do some kind of session, table session or whatever, I always have a big bowl of candy there or, something of that nature. But, I don't know.
Sounds good. So we'll move forward, Brian, then. I'll just resend the email so I can just quickly get it in writing. But Lauren can move forward then with contacting Cass for that hopefully April 22nd. But if we can't get that, hopefully within that span of time.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we also talked about as far as attendance, it's not mandated that everybody be there. It's just wanting to have a selection of people there to help answer questions and talk to people. So those that are interested in, we definitely want to make sure it's a time that Jeff can get there and or Tom can get there so that they have those ears moving forward. But okay, boy, I will try to keep talking. Next, housekeeping. I didn't have anything specific for housekeeping. Does anybody else have anything specific? Let me pull up chat here, but does anybody else have anything specific for housekeeping?
I did want to bring something up, Missy. I think that before our next meeting, we should make an effort to reach out to our student and his teacher to see if we can do something to help them prepare sharing something. Maybe if we can give them some guiding questions.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's great.
Catherine, could you or Jovian do that?
Yeah.
Or
I'll work on that with Joviana.
okay. Good thought. Good thought. Because I know he seems a little shy, but I think he would like to share stuff if we have some guiding questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other housekeeping pieces? Susan, were these your suggestions? You have nominating committee and policy and procedure manual. I can tell you that I haven't done much with the policy and procedure manual at this point in time, but we will do that. We will get what we have out to everybody and do some finalization with that. And I'm not sure specifically what about the nominating committee.
Hey guys, I'm just going to talk for a second. So policy and procedure, we only have 2 more meetings of the executive committee and I'll be off of it. So I want to get that done. And then the nominating committee, this is the time of year when we reach out and talk about who's going to be next year in executive committee positions. Because we have a tentative May meeting and we only have the April meeting.
And I can reach out to Brian Smith because he is the chair of the nominating committee.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not really sure how you guys handled that in the past because I haven't been here to do that. Aside of just being kind of nominated at a full council meeting. So,
Typically, the nominating committee will present a slate of officers, but there's always that opportunity for anyone who would, I think you can self-nominate. Anyone who wants to be nominated from the floor also has that opportunity. But typically the nominating committee does do some recruitment. So Susan, thank you for that reminder, and I'll reach out to Brian.
should we ask him to present something or to introduce that to the full council at our next meeting so that we could stir up interest and stuff of that nature?
Yeah, and I think Susan, did you just put it in the chat? The policy and procedure manual does describe the protocol for that. So I'll look at that and review it with Brian.
Okay, I'll make sure we put that in the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Susan. Any other housekeeping? Okay. New business. So we have, Brian is still on, so this is good. set agenda for our full council meeting. We are March 25th, Lyceum, I don't know how to say it. The Resource Conference Center. I have 9:30 to 12:30 as our time frame. I had gone through, so Tom had sent us an email a while back, just to identify some possible topics for us to be reviewing, during our full staff meetings. I just picked a few, which I don't think we have discussed yet, Brian. So the discussion of training needs for SAC, to recommend to CSDE, the review and discussion of public school transition program standards, and connect with Concase to discuss how to make resources more meaningful to parents. There might be other things that you need to share, with all of us in general. But those were just some things that I pulled out of his letter. Other thoughts?
Just, Missy, if I could say this, Jeff Spar, I'm not going to be available on that date, so I'll reach out to Tom Kosker and let him know, just so that he can be prepared to do the legislative committee representation.
On the 25th, you mean?
Correct.
March
Yeah,
25th.
I'm not
Okay.
gonna be there.
All right.
I have a trial. It's actually up in Hartford in the federal court. I mean, unless it's settled, then I could be there, but right now it's not going anywhere, so.
Okay.
Misty, I'll just
Have fun
read
with
it.
that.
This is just a short email I received from my legislative representative. This was before the last in-person event was canceled due to the weather. And so he was planning on attending. And he said, considering all the setbacks thrown at the special ed department and the virtual abandonment of our legislated Office of Dyslexia and Reading Disabilities by the CSDE, I'm very interested to learn what SAC has been up to. So that was something he shared with me.
Can I raise a
Sorry,
question
folks.
for
Catherine.
Brian Leaf? Brian, can I ask you a question, Brian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
Sorry. I'm not, I missed the last few minutes and I need to jump off, but I'm concerned about what Catherine just read. I just didn't have
Yeah.
the context.
Yeah, it was
Because obviously
just
there isn't an abandonment of ODRD. From the CSD perspective, we
Right.
presented information related to the ODRD accomplishments at the last several board meetings, but sorry, Catherine.
Oh, no, that's okay, Brian. I was just reading word for word from the email that was sent to me in February, and again, very brief, where the
Who
statement
was the email from?
Representative Mitch Belinsky.
Okay. Yeah. So we've had conversations with him
Okay.
directly through
Great.
CSDE during appropriations and had an opportunity to have a working session with the legislature as well.
Super.
Thank you for forwarding that.
You're welcome.
Hey,
All right,
Brian,
Jeff,
can I
you had
ask
a
you quick
question?
Yeah, I had a quick question. So, April is Autism Acceptance Month, and I get a proclamation done by the governor, and that's going to take place. And we have an event in Norwalk for that. My question is, for the Bureau of Special Education, do you post anything? Do you do anything for like Autism Acceptance Month? If not, can we do that? And I'm going to try to reach out to the governor's office because we get these proclamations and we kind of bring them down to the green and it's in the news maybe. But I would think that the state would want to post the proclamations, and so, and I know I know they have like an autism thing at the Capitol every once in a while. So
Yeah, so Jeff, I know we've had this conversation a few different times, but we typically don't advertise or recognize the various months, I know there's ADHD recognition too, and we've talked about that. But what I'm thinking about is, we have our newsletter that goes out of the Bureau of Special Education each month where we can do those types of highlights. I think that would be appropriate. Um, but historically, we have not done that. If there's a proclamation from the governor, we can, that would be like something great for like a press release, where we can get with our communications office can definitely do something in that context. So let's keep in touch, and I'll connect with Matt Cerrone to see, how we can best promote that.
Okay, that's fine. I
But
appreciate that.
but I know, like, historically, and for a variety of reasons, um, we, we haven't, like, posted or promoted those types of recognition months or weeks or days. But there are a number of them. And it's
Okay, no, I
important to
understand.
bring notoriety, especially during a legislative session. So,
Okay, so we'll keep in touch. I know you gotta go, so
yeah, no, that's great.
thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
So Brian, just before you hop off, so I just posted, I don't know if you heard me before, I just posted in the agenda some of the things out of Tom's letter that we should speak to at our full meeting. And I didn't know what else you had to talk about. But maybe we can touch base later as far as what you would like in the agenda.
That sounds great, Missy. Yeah, we'll take a closer look at Tom's suggestions, and then how the executive committee wants to shape that time, support that as needed.
Okay, thanks.
All right,
Have
have a
fun.
great meeting. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, any other thoughts on what should be in the agenda for our full council meeting?
Did you
would
see
always-
Susan's thing in the chat about maybe CSDE can give an update on the ODRD?
Yeah. Okay.
Missy,
I always support talking about transitions, so, and, but I don't know that the standards have actually been finalized yet, so I don't know that Brian wants to share any of that. So, I'm not sure what the holdup is, but, if they are finalized, then I would ask that he share them with us.
Missy,
Somebody started to say, yeah,
sorry, it's Susan. I'm being secret on the train. So can you have an email sent out to the full SAC? I don't think people comprehend that our meeting is in person next week and there's a different time change.
I think the reminder went out, but no.
The reminder went out. Yep, so we were waiting for the official approval that we just officially got, and so I will be able to hit the OK button, and for everyone that registered, that notification goes out to them directly.
Could you actually notify, just the entire SAC? That would be really wonderful. Not just.
Yes, Susan,
Right.
no, we do. What we will make sure to do. So Lauren, 100% correct. Like we
Yeah.
just have to sign contracts and all that. So and we also had to adjust the time because we do have a hard stop at 12:30. We found out, so we're gonna be able to start at 9:30 and go to 12:30 with a very hard stop at 12:30. So I will notify them, but we wanted to make sure we had all the information before going out to, 33, 34 members at the SAC.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, any other new business stuff? All right. Membership committee?
So I believe Joviana sent her update to everyone, and you can see that there is a robust amount of work for the membership committee to tackle. And I know Joviana is working on trying to schedule a membership committee so that we can begin reviewing the applications for the vacancies we have. And, I've really tried to convey to Joviana that I want to be as supportive as I can, and that we have never had as many vacancies or as many applications on the SAC, at least as far as I can remember. So, I'm sorry that she took over membership at this time with all this work to do, but I certainly am going to do my best to support her. And the membership committee is just such a great group of people. So I think that we're all going to work well together once we finally meet.
Yes, there is a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
The two of you will do really well along with the committee, so it will be fine.
Thanks, Missy.
And Jovi and I are
right.
going back and forth now with dates. So we have emails going. We're just trying to find a date that's going to work and then work for the committee as a whole. So it should be on the horizon soon.
Super. Thanks, Christine.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Okay, legislative committee. Jeff, anything to add at this point in time? You're muted, Jeff.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, nothing really too much to add at this point. We did have the one law that went into effect that was talking about the addition of the about the notification on the same day of, so that was good. It didn't have in there what we'd like to have is the language of, but I'm assuming hopefully that would be something common sense. And so maybe that would be done. Going forward, I know Tom just Brian just sent the bill that he was looking at, that was the 294, 424, excuse me. And I had a question because it was talking about referring a lot of stuff. I haven't had a chance to digest it. I just saw it and I'm just trying to read it. And but it's throwing a lot of the stuff having to do with 504 plans over to the state Department of Education. And I got to be honest, I was kind of like, it was a surprise to me the other day when we were talking, and it was like saying, "Oh, that's 504, and it's beyond the jurisdiction of the SAC." And I'm like, "What?" It just seems to me it's all just kind of a variation of special education in a way. So the question I have is, according to this bill again, which I haven't had a chance to digest, if they're putting a whole bunch of 504 stuff over to the Bureau of Special Education, is that going to increase the jurisdiction of this Bureau of Special Education, and through that then the SAC? That's just the question I raised.
I find that very interesting. Because-
So the bill is 424. There's no real synopsis, you usually see it. And interestingly enough, this is being proposed by our friend Robin Comey. So anyhow, so I'm just raising that. I threw that out in an email. I'll have to check to see, but they're proposing a lot of oversight of 504 stuff. So it says, like, for example, in section 6, the Commissioner of Education shall direct the Bureau of Special Education within the Department of Education to implement changes to the special education data system developed by the department to better adapt its use for plans pursuant to section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. Including like student demographic information, evaluation, so a whole bunch of stuff. It's just like throwing all this stuff over to the not later than July of 2027 and annually thereafter, each local and regional board of education shall report to the Department of Education for students of the district who have plans pursuant to section 504, the number of students, So the Bureau of Special Education shall provide increased oversight and coordination with local and regional boards of education to support students with plans pursuant to section 504. So it's increasing the interplay between the Bureau of Special Education and local boards of education regarding 504 plans. And again, so it's kind of like broadening it so that I think it's a good thing. Because like I said, I was kind of shocked. I mean, my son kept on transitioning back and forth between IEPs and 504s,
Well, as I mentioned when we were talking about it the other time, it used to be that way. I mean, 504, when I was teaching 504, when I first started teaching, 504 was under special education, and I worked specifically with 504 students as well. But then there was a shift, and it was mandated that it was a general education initiative. 504 students were general education students. And so they were removed from, we weren't allowed to have them in our special education classes. If I was in a co-taught class and I was going in there and there was a general ed teacher there also, that was no problem. But they were under the auspices of usually the school counselor, guidance counselor at that time. But and so that was happening. Now I know after I left teaching and while I was at CERC, there was a lot of conversation about the fact that students with IEPs could also be on 504 plans, which that wasn't the case several years ago. So I think that there's been more of a combination of those, and so henceforth that may be why they're moving towards this. But I find it very interesting how it bops back and forth. But I did put, Susan, I did put down, I'm going to send Brian an email with the things that we've talked about that we would like addressed, and I will put that in there also.
Yeah, so I just think we're going to keep an eye on the bill, not only for the content, but the impact, so.
Yeah, and there's the other complication too, that 504 students, unless they're also IEP students, if they can't use IDEA funds for their program, which is probably I assume what you kind of came up against, Missy, with what you were sharing. But again, I also had a student who went back and forth between the two, and at some points had both of them. So I think it definitely is something. It's not typically in the SAC's purview, but we do comment on legislation, and it does impact some of our students who are also receiving special education. So I do think it's a good idea to keep an eye on it.
All right, cool. Thank you.
All right. Any more comments? Because I rudely interrupted you at the beginning of the meeting. Nachi, any more comments about what you were talking about earlier? And I have to look at my notes to get it, but.
Thank you, Missy. I'm not sure if maybe I should talk about it if I do the legislative meeting tomorrow. Anyone know what time that is?
I think it's 11.
9:30?
Oh, maybe not.
Yes, it's 9:30 to
9:30.
10:30. Yes.
Okay. I might just pull up my calendar, but I could just say briefly that I'll have a half hour. I have until 10 tomorrow. So, but basically, I was reading about, I don't often look at all the new bills. They just time-wise, it doesn't work for me. But there's one on equivalent instruction, which is really relevant to my stakeholder group about that, because there has been no legislation until now, and this is possible legislation about students receiving equivalent instruction, aka homeschooling. It's raised bill number 5468, raised out of the Education Committee. And specifically, my concern is that on page 9, lines 260 to 271, allow for a child to take up to 2 classes a year in a public school under the jurisdiction of the board, as well as participate in any extracurricular and intramural interscholastic athletics offered by the board, which is all very good, but it makes no mention of either special education or 504. And as you all know, a child who's registered in school has a right, to any disability-based education services. And certainly the district has a responsibility to look at child find for any child that is is a registered student of theirs. So also that 504 protections also carry over, as do IEP, but also many students with 504 plans have things that are needed in their extracurricular activities. So that was my concern. It just wasn't addressed. So because if such student, the wording is such a child should be considered a part-time student for purposes of enrollment in the school district. To me, that's something new to our state that we haven't had part-time K-12 students. So what does that mean defined operationally and as well as legislatively? What does that mean for districts and parents and families and children? Thank you for listening.
I think it's all very, very interesting. I always had a hard time with students that were homeschooled not being able to participate in all of the other extracurricular things like band and theater and sports and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll have to see how that goes.
My issue is just that, and I believe there are other states who do that, and I would just want it to be clarified so that everyone's aware of what can be expected when a child is registered.
Hmm. I got what you meant. Okay, very good. All right. Any other legislative pieces or things? I mean, we do have the meeting tomorrow. I have a COP meeting, but I will pop off and come over to this one for a short time.
Yeah, I just had a question, Christine. Was an agenda set out? I know you said to us, and then we responded about some of
Yeah.
the topics.
So the good news, it's officially posted on the SAC website.
Okay, cool.
You'll be getting from me temporarily, like soon, because I have to do two versions, one that gets posted on the website and one that has a little more information for us on the committee, like the Zoom link. And then you're also going to get the meeting minutes from, yes, December 12th, 2024 for consent approval, just to give you a
Wow.
heads up on that.
Okay, super. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know how much we're gonna have to talk about, but I'm looking forward to doing it. Thank you.
sounds good. No, you're welcome.
All right. Anything else? All right. So as far as action items, Christine will send out the legislative piece there. Missy is going to pull together the policy and procedure manual as far as what we have to see what we're missing. Missy will do that. Catherine is going to contact Brian Smith for the nominating committee, as well as, no,
Guiding questions for our student representative.
yes, have some conversation with Giovanni as far as getting some questions out for that. I will send an email to Brian as far as just the topics for our full council meeting. I will add those pieces that we've talked about here. Did I miss anything? I try to scribble notes, but sometimes I can't read them after I scribble them, so. Okay, anything else? I have to go make a cake, so
What kind of cake?
policy procedure meeting.
That's an action item. I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I will add that to my list to set up a policy. Now, would that policy and procedure meeting just be with us, or is that something that we open up to everybody else, or it's just us, right?
As in the executive committee, I think so, and it's up to you. You as the chair also can allow other members of the SAC who are interested to join as well.
Okay. Yes, we'll try to get it before May. Christine, we can look at calendars and see what we can do for getting a meeting set up.
Sounds good.
I'm always better if I have an actual date to work towards.
Would the policies and procedures have to be approved by the full council once we're done?
Good question.
I don't think so. It's not like an official, it's not like a document like our bylaws. It's really like an operations
Yeah, an
manual so
operation
that
manual.
whoever takes over for the leadership here, they'll know how things run. It's all the things that are not in the bylaws that you need to know.
Absolutely. Okay, that sounds good. So that way we could go up until May with it because we won't need that approval because we have always the tentative May full council date, but we don't always use it. So just keeping in mind the time frame to the end of the year.
End of the year.
Or
Yeah.
end of the the school calendar year.
Yeah, well, I say yay because that means kids will be out of school.
Exactly.
All right.
Full gear for the summer.
No. All right. I had Jeff make a motion to adjourn. Nachi, yes. Christine said she would be emailing you the link for tomorrow when she sends out the agendas and all that good stuff.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome, Nachi. We'll just forward you the calendar invite, so at least you have that on your calendar, and then I'll reinforce it in the email to everybody.
Very kind. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Okay. All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Bye. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a
Make-
good one.
make
Good
sure you
day.
use- Make sure you use big print for Grandpa Nachi.
Aw.
Yes. Keep us posted. Send
Adorable.
us pictures.
We want
All
pictures
right.
Yeah,
for sure. We want
pictures.
pictures.
All right. Very
Bye.
good. Bye.